talk briefly about, I was putting this presentation together for something else. I wanted to deliver it today mainly to you guys. And it's really because most of you guys already know this stuff and you've heard me talk about it, but there was a recent study that came out that got me kind of sidetracked the other day. And I started digging deep, and when I've been paying attention across the board, right, with most businesses, and the difference between successful ones, non-successful ones, the ones that are consistently making things happen, the ones that are struggling to make things happen, there's a lot of kind of similarities in the space. And I think it's really impacting on the real estate side presently, simply because there's no denying it, competition is up, right? I think competition in the real estate space has been going up since 2011, when I got started over a decade ago in the real estate world. Even then I said, holy crap, there's a lot of people that quote unquote are doing real estate in my market, right? And we fast forward to 2022 and there's even more, and there'll be more next year, and so on and so forth, between investors, agents, the whole gamut of it. And when I started to really study it, the big differentiator between those that are at the front and those that are kind of trickling behind, it really came down to like one key thing. And it's not just in real estate, but I'm going to keep it around the real estate side here today. And it has nothing to do with not enough leads. It has nothing to do with people not getting enough leads, okay? It has nothing to do with the quality of those leads. I hear this one a lot. I could do more if my quality of leads were better. It has nothing to do with the cost of leads, right? And I'm actually going to pin my video so that you guys moving around, it doesn't go to you. It has nothing to do with this cost or kind of the, you know, they're cheap leads, so they're terrible, or they cost too much to get the good leads. And it has nothing to do with tracking. I know I preach this a lot. You should be tracking a lot of things. I just talked about this last week on the webinar, right? You should be tracking your metrics and these type of things. That really helps with the conversion side. But that's, whether you do it or don't, that's not the differentiator between it. It's not the quality isn't the differentiator between it. It's this right here. It's unconverted leads. And it's a massive problem in service-based businesses and real estate investing. And I even hate using that word, real estate investing. Real estate solution companies, which is really what you guys are. You find solutions to help with their real estate transaction or the real estate needs, right? It's a service that we provide. Yes, the outcome is we get to invest in an asset. We get to create returns off of that. We get to have this very lucrative, component of our business. But when we really boil it down, we provide a solution to people struggling in the real estate world, or not necessarily even struggling. We just provide an alternative solution to real estate transactions. This making sense so far?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So at the end of the day, we really are service companies. And the biggest killer of a service company, I don't care if you're an insurance provider, if you're a medical provider, if you provide haircuts as your service, unconverted leads. And before I go too deep into this, I'll give you a real life scenario. For about the last week, I've been trying to get some things taken care of. We're stepping off July 5th for our big John Muir Trail hike. And there's something that I wanted to have made for Deanna and I's, personal brand, the Sierra Life, our blog brand. And I've been calling around all these different embroidery places around here. And I had 2 or 3 of them here in the local market that are part of our chamber that come highly recommended. And I've been reaching out for about the last 2 weeks. And it was shocking that not a single one of them in a 14-day window had reached back out to me. I'm talking messages on their Instagrams, emails to their stuff because it said to email them, sending messages through their website, trying to call them, getting voicemails, never getting a return, these type of things. And I went ahead yesterday and I picked up the phone and I called a friend of mine who does this type of, service, embroidery, silk screening, that kind of stuff. And I already knew she's pricey. That's why I wasn't necessarily going with her, because I wanted just one or two things. She's great for bulk. She's not the best for one-offs or two-offs, right? So I was looking for a better solution for that. So I went ahead and picked up the phone and called her anyway. And I said, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I can't get in touch with anybody else in your industry in this marketplace. And long story short, she ended up, hey, no big deal. We'll figure out a good price. We'll make it work since it's a one-off, two-off. And lo and behold, guess what happened this morning? One of them random companies that I've been reaching out to for the last couple of weeks suddenly shot me an email. Hey, thanks for reaching out. I'd love to talk to you. Why don't you give us a call so that we can schedule time for you to come in to the shop and talk about what you have. And in the back of my mind, I said, you had me. Had you converted me 2 weeks ago, right? So is it the lack of leads, or is it the quality of leads? No, it's just they didn't know how to actually convert, right? And we see this a lot in the real estate space quite frequently. And where I got kind of dug deep into this, where I got sidetracked the other day, is this here is a study that the Harvard Business Review did. And there's some really interesting stats that I want to break down. And I apologize right now if it's boring to look at stats, but I got stupid excited over these stats because it kind of drove home this point, or drove home this theory that I've kind of lived by, and what I thought was kind of the big differentiator around why people have trouble converting opportunities. Now, I'm not going to go through every component of it. I just want to hit kind of the highlights of some things here. But they went through about 3 years worth of data. They did it across a number of different companies, and they really focused in on web-generated leads. Anything that happened from the World Wide Web, social platforms, websites, online type activity. This had nothing to do with direct response. They had about 15,000 unique leads that they analyzed, and about 100,000 call attempts that they broke this data down through. So it's not a small sample, but it's also not a monstrous sample. I felt like it was a pretty solid kind of sample to dissect. And they focused in on one big question. And I know it's a little bright with my camera right now, but they said, hey, the one question they focused in on is, what is the best result, right? For the best result for these companies, how should companies respond to their leads? That's what they were trying to get the answer to, was how should service-based companies respond to leads to get the best result? And their mission was, can they maximize results by minimizing the effort? I think that's kind of the name of the game in business. Would you guys agree? We want the best results for the least amount of work, right? We don't want to do a ton to get a greater return. We want to do as minimum as possible and still get a great return out of it. Now, the first area that they focused in on was the best days to make calls. And what they came to find out was across the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesdays and Thursdays was actually the best days to make calls to leads. So again, this was all digital type traffic. So if they've hit them on their Instagram or Facebook or websites or whatever the case, and they're trying to get back in touch with that lead now, what they noticed was leads coming in on a Wednesdays and Thursdays, that was the best time to try to make contact with the person. And this over here was pretty staggering. Tuesday to Thursday is not a big gap, right? We got 1 day in between Tuesday and Thursday, yet the average connection rate was almost 50% higher reaching out on a Thursday versus a Tuesday. That's huge, right? And it's not like they had a small sample here. 1,500 people they were able to connect with on a Tuesday, but on Thursday, they were able to get to almost 2,500, 2.5K. It's a big jump just from basically what, not even a full 48 hours, about a 24, 28, 30 hour window into this next set of days here. Now, and let me go back to this here for a second. what they were trying to focus in on this, why they were saying Wednesdays and Thursdays, it's hard to read down here in the bottom, but it says, according to similar graphs, Wednesdays and Thursdays are the best days to qualify. And they have an asterisk next to the word qualify. And basically, this is what they were doing on these phone calls, was it was the initial kind of outreach. The first time that they're trying to get in touch with this person, post them kind of raising their hand or saying they're interested. And they were going for the qualification aspect. Is this a good lead? Is this a bad lead? Is this somebody that we can work with, not work with, that kind of stuff? And the way they defined the word qualification was, is this person ready and willing to move into my sales process? Right? And you guys have heard me kind of do trainings and talk about, what does your sales funnel look like? What does the sales process look like? Do you just talk to everybody and waste your time doing a full-blown, hey, here's how I'm going to buy your house presentation the first time you talk to them? Or do you qualify them first and make sure it's a good fit, right? And that's basically what they were saying. And they identified that Wednesdays and Thursdays were the best days to have that type of conversation with somebody, to say, hey, is it worth us? Is this a good fit for us to kind of go to the next phase of our process? Now, they also wanted to dig deep into the best time. And this chart right here is, they've got the times across the bottom, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And what they noticed was the second best time of the day to contact somebody was down here at 8 a.m. in the morning. It's actually, if you can actually see the full screen, it's about 7:45 to 8:30 in the morning was the second best time. And when I sat back and I looked at that, it started to make sense. What is the majority of people today doing for work? Is it common to be working from home now? Vice going into the office, right? So commute time is gone. So this hour of about 7:45 to 8:30, 8:45 in the morning, Marie, you've got kids. What time do they leave during the school year? What time do they leave to get on the school bus?
I got on mute. My kids actually have to be at the bus at 7.
Yeah. So if Marie was a prospect, would she most likely be available, done with the kids in the morning, right? Around this 7:45 to 8:30 in the morning window. Yeah, she's kind of getting her day going. Or maybe she's doing the morning commute, right? The joke that I tell Deanna, your morning commute, 5 minutes to the coffee machine by the time you wake up, about 2 minutes for the coffee to get made. And then you got about a 35-second, depending if I get in your way and you've got some traffic, maybe you got about a minute commute to your desk on the couch, right? So they're maybe just getting kind of going. And I know Deanna, she doesn't get started till about 9 o'clock in the morning. So this time frame right here, most likely she's just got her phone in her hand, drinking some coffee, goofing off with TikTok or Instagram, right? Or doing some research on an upcoming trip or something like that. Which is why it was the second most best time to get in touch with somebody. The number one times to get in touch with somebody, though, was down here, right around the 4 o'clock window up until about 5:30. And it's really up until about 5:15. When we look at the chart here and we start to see this decline coming through, this right here is about 4 o'clock. And this dot over here is just past the 5 o'clock hour. So you got about a 1 hour window between 4 and 5 p.m. And this started to make sense too when I sat back and looked at it. If, let's say, people were back to work, 4 to 5 p.m., what's typically probably happening to them? Where are they at? Driving back home, right? But with people being more common working out of their house now, at 4 to 5 window, that's about the time they're starting to shut down, but maybe they haven't fully shut down yet, right? They don't have that commute time anymore, so they kind of work a little bit later. I look at Deanna all the time because she's the typical corporate worker. She shuts her computer down maybe by about 5:15, 5:30, something like that, right? But do you really think they're paying attention to too much work towards the tail end of their day with about the last hour to go? No, they're starting to check out. So they had a better chance of actually getting in touch with them, getting a hold of them. It's prior, it's like just before needing to deal with the dinner, these type of things, kid type stuff. So it started to make sense. The best time to hit somebody as a lead is around that 4 to 5 window. And the second best time to hit them is first thing in the morning. And it was this huge gap because they tried through here, this middle of the day kind of window, about the 1 to 2 p.m. versus the 4 to 5 p.m. And there was this huge gap, about 164% chance that they connected, actually 164% more during this 4 to 5 window versus the early afternoon of 1 to 2. Now, time frame, when they talk about response time, it was how long from the second that this lead came in. How long from the time they sent a chat on a chatbot, sent a message through social platforms, filled out a form on a website, tried to call and left a voicemail for a company, something like that. And what they found was that the best response time was within 5 minutes. And this is what like really got my attention. 5 minutes. If they waited out to about 10 minutes, and there's a number of connections versus the minutes here, from 0 up to about 10,000, they made contact with about 9,000 people of that 100 and some odd thousand people they communicated with when they reached out to them within the first 5 minutes. They only made contact with about 2,000 people at 10 minutes. They made contact with probably, I'd call that about 900 people at 15 minutes. And by the time they got to 20, 25 and out to 30 minutes, it was almost non-existent. And here's why this stood out to me. How many of you guys have told a prospective seller that you're going to get back to them in 24 to 48 hours? How many of you guys have the phrasing in your marketing out there that's like, hey, fill out this form and somebody will get in touch with you in 24 to 48 hours? Shoot us a message and we'll get some information to you in 24 to 48 hours, right? For some reason in business, we've been ingrained and trained and kind of told that that's okay. 24 to 48 hours is actually a really good response rate. But when they did the study, at 30 minutes, they had a hard time even getting in touch with somebody on the very first call. But within 5 minutes, they can get in touch with somebody 10 times more likely. It was about a 900% increase in connection rate. That like, I sat back for a second and really had to take this in. It was like, holy crap, 5 minutes. 5 minutes to get them, right? From the second they take action or do something, kind of raise that this is really focusing in on this inbound side of things. Now, persistence was the other big piece of it. That's just the first call, right? Which is all the way down here. And when we look at it, it's actually, this is 20 to 40%. 20 to 40% of the time they were able to get with them on the very first attempt. But look what happens as the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth attempt. By the time they got out to the sixth attempt to get in touch with this person, they were 90% more likely to actually get them. 90% more effective in their connection rate. And it made sense when they compared it against the average attempts by the reps. Most reps stopped after the very first one. Right? There's this huge drop from about 40, just shy of 40% to just over 21% of reps would even reach out a second time. All the way down to 6, we're talking less than 3% of the reps would even reach out up to a 6th time. So it's no wonder that we got such a small amount continuing to try, why they were able to finally get connection. Because the number of sheer people trying to hit them, right, when we look at competition, vanished. They were probably the only one in this person's life still trying to reach out to them about that particular thing. This make sense? Give me a quick thumbs up.
Sean, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So in relation to, let's say you have a lead magnet and someone taps into that, okay, and they ask for something, that's an inbound, organic generation.
Absolutely.
Are we talking about acting like this in this speed and in this format with that kind of person, or do we continue to nurture them? Because there's
Oh, I'm going to get into.
things to do.
I'll actually use that as the example. I'm going to get into what an ideal
right,
kind of structure should be. But no, you're 100% right. If somebody's even at the level of a lead magnet, them opting in to get that lead magnet, they're expressing some form of interest.
Right.
This is something that they're interested in, that we basically have a 5-minute window that if we can get in touch with them, we've got about a 900% chance increase, right, in doing business with this person. Now, what they did was they did a complete audit around response, because the stuff that I just went through, that was kind of like the ideal, right? When these things happen, here's how it kind of lined it up, and it made sense that this is the kind of ideal scenario. So then they started to look, why aren't people doing this? What is the actual response that's happening? And what they found was the most common method for the very first response was email. To Sal's point, they opt in for the lead magnet, right? They're filling out a form, they're requesting something, email. That was the very first piece of contact that was going out. And there's nothing wrong with that, until we start stacking some of this other stuff and we start realizing that if we try to rely on just that, it's not enough, right? 77% of the leads that were actually submitted never received a phone call. So they sent an email and left it at that. 77% never received a single call attempt. And when I digested that one, I sat back and I asked, why? Why is it that people aren't jumping on a phone? And I started to come up with probably the same answers that maybe some of you guys would throw out if I asked. Unsure what to say. All right, not really sure if it's a viable lead. But then I started to really think, why is it that they never got a phone call? Probably got forgotten about. Probably didn't even realize that it happened. Probably said, I'll do it tomorrow, but it was one of those things that was always, I'll do it tomorrow, right? Procrastination. I know I've been guilty of that, especially way early in my entrepreneurial life. Yeah, I'll call that person tomorrow. Yeah, I'll call them tomorrow. Before you know it, it's been a month, right? And when we still haven't gotten in touch with that person. 28.6% of the leads were first, only 28% of the leads were actually responded to by phone call. By phone call being the very first connection. So the bulk of that was the email. And it was about 28% that actually their first kind of attempt was the phone call piece of it. And what shocked me there was phone call is kind of the fast way to belly button business, right? I can't physically walk into Sal's house when he fills something out on my form, but if I can get him on a phone, it's just as good, right? This one here kind of just reiterates what I was saying. The optimal response was 5 minutes, but what they noticed, the average phone response time of reps is about 44 hours. And it made sense, right? We say we'll get back to you in 24 to 48 hours. And what's the natural human way of doing work? Put it off to the last minute. And it was about the average of about 44 hours for them to finally pick up a phone and make an attempt, or to reach out via that phone piece of things. And this one goes back to what I said over here. The most common response being the email. 28% of those, a little over 28% of those first emails were simply just autoresponder type emails, which again isn't bad, except they forgot something. Autoresponders often with no call to action. So we were just sending, they're just sending this email, right? But never ending the loop. They're just, hey, Sal, thanks for requesting it. Here you go. Here it is. And leaving it at that. And without that call to action, right? It's that joke that I like to tell sometimes. It's like bringing somebody into your storefront and playing hide the product. Hey, Mickey, welcome to the store. Have fun. Try to figure out where I hid it today. If we even have it, I'm not going to tell you, right? That sounds silly to do, but that's what we're doing when we reach out like that and not telling them what's next. What's going to go on, right? This one just kind of really emphasizes down on the average number of touches across their study was about 4.4. Notice I said out to 6, they got some really great results. The recommended is all the way out to 12. And basically the way to look at this is until somebody tells you they're not interested, they've figured it out, they've gone with somebody else, right? Screw off, get out of here, stop bothering me. Until they tell you something like that, they're still a prospect. They're still somebody that at some point raised their hand with you. And until you're out to this 12th, 10, 11, 12th mark, you need to look at them like it's still a viable option. And just know that the deeper in that you get, the less competition you're actually dealing with. Because the majority of people won't do this. The majority of companies won't spend this kind of time. Why? The squirrel effect. Right? Oh, we got another opportunity over here. I'm just going to go pay attention to that one. Oh, this one just popped. Oh, I just saw this house over here. Let me try to go get that one over there. That one's too hard to work. Screw it. If they want something, they'll call me back. I'm already over here looking at something different, right? So how do we solve the problem? You guys have heard me talk about this like crazy. You need to engage how they want to engage. But you can't just expect that they'll engage the way they want to. You need to ask them. If somebody goes and fills out that form, Sal, to download the lead magnet, and you've got multiple ways that they can engage with you, on that thank you page, tell them, hey, here's the different ways that we would love to talk about how we could help you with the information that you just downloaded. Feel free to send us a message in a chat. Feel free to text us, give us a call at, these type of things. And then I'd be 100% open and say, one of our, put a better name to this, but in essence, one of our representatives, one of our team members is going to be reaching out to you in the next couple of minutes. And I'll talk a little bit about the wording of some messages here in a second. But you got to position yourself and put yourself in a way where they can just engage with you how they want to engage with you, not trying to force somebody into just one way. The second way to fix all of this is follow up quickly. I don't care if you got to go tattoo this on your arm, right down the forearm where you see it every day. 5-minute connection, 5-minute connection. Your goal should be within 5 minutes or less, getting a phone ringing anytime you have any viable lead. Opt in on a website, message to a social platform, anything. If you have an ability to call, you've got their phone number, don't sit around and wait. Get on that phone and call them. 3, this is why we love Lead Vault, the automation element. There are some automations that we can leverage to help with this. We cannot automate the phone call. We physically have to be the one, but we can leverage some automation to make sure we're getting in front of them within 5 minutes or less, right? Not necessarily the communication aspect, but notifications, assignment to team members, these type of things, being aware. Remember, I go back to why weren't some of these people making these calls? Why weren't some of these things happening? The excuses were probably, I didn't know about it, I didn't see it, I wasn't aware of it, right? These type of things. Automation can help with that piece. Now, the ideal outcome is this: an email and text message within 30 seconds. So imagine right now, somebody's on your website, they fill out one of your forms, they download a lead magnet, they go request a copy of your book for free, whatever the case is, 30 seconds or less, text message and email going out. What I personally would put in that is, hey, username. So, hey, Mickey, thanks for requesting our blah, 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 blah form. I just shot it over in your email. By the way, one of our whatever, so, you know, so-and-so, if it was our business, hey, Mickey, thanks for downloading our SEO checklist. One of our client success managers or one of our SEO expert team members is going to be reaching out to you in about 5 minutes or less to see how they might be able to better help you, or at least go over how to best utilize the resource, right? If this isn't a good time to call, shoot me back a text with some times that work for you. And if they don't answer within, and I'll show you that stat here in a second, if they don't answer within about a 3-minute window, then boom, phone call's going out. So that all this is happening in that first 5-minute window. Every lead, mark this down, every single one of your leads should be being followed up with at least 7 times, minimum, via emails, messages, phone calls, whatever the case, at least 7 until they tell you to go away, right? If at time number 2, you get in touch with them finally, or they finally answer back and they say, I'm not interested, change my mind, whatever the case, and it's no longer a prospect, that's fine. But until those words come out of their mouth or they're doing business with you, until it gets to number 7, you cannot look at it as a dead opportunity. You guys have seen this graph before. Those that are with us and work with us closely. But when I break it down, basically what's happening here, right? I don't care where the traffic's coming from. This particular diagram has stuff like search and AdWords and that kind of stuff. All your stuff being pushed towards the website, or it should be being pushed, right? It's what we teach, is you should be pushing traffic to your website non-stop. Right, Bob, you asked the question, how would I reach out to those people? I'm going to wet their whistle, try to get something that gets their attention. That's the point of my marketing. And all I'm trying to do is see if I can get them onto my website, to see if that gets them to bite a little bit more, right? Because that's where I'm going to increase the likelihood that they're going to do something. They're going to send me a message, they're going to fill out a form, they're going to call me, they're going to start to like me, whatever the case, right? Once that happens, right? Once they fill out this form, going back to Sal's analogy, once that form gets filled out, boom, goes to the thank you page. This is where I always talk about a video immediately on that thank you page saying, hey, this is Sal with Ohana Legacy Properties. We really appreciate you downloading our whatever checklist to better understand how you can help with mom's house and all of her situation and blah, 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 blah. We've sent it to your email, but here's what's going to happen. Somebody from our office, or my Chris, our whatever, our relocation expert, whatever you want to call them, right? Is going to be reaching out in the next 3 to 5 minutes to go over this form and blah, 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 and this type of stuff. Here's some other ways that you can communicate with us, right? Leverage that. But here's where the juice happens. Once that happens, you really have 2 channels going on. You've got the customer channel and you got the company channel. The customer, things need to be being sent to them. Text message, email, immediately, 30 seconds or less, like I said, right? Kind of saying the same thing that maybe even that thank you page said. But here's where it really gets, the money's really made is in the company side. Immediately, you should be having, those of you that are Lead Vault users, you should be having notifications hitting inside your Lead Vault account. You should have notifications hitting your personal, whether it's email or what I prefer is I get text messages. When somebody does something on our website, they chat with our chatbot, they fill out a form, they request the SEO checklist, doesn't matter what it is, they message back. I get a text message on my cell phone that says, hey, Sal just did this. Here's what he said. Hey, Sal just filled out this form, and here's his name, his phone number, his email. Bob just did this, And here's their details. Here's their property address, so on and so forth, right? Because if I get that to my cell phone, is this thing ever not with us? Today's day and age. I don't care where I'm at. Most likely I'm looking at this on a regular basis, right? More so than my email. So I want to get it right here, as well as inside the app in case of, or inside the platform, these type of things. And I do this with our team. I have automations in place, and when certain things happen, they get pinged immediately, boom, so that they can stay on top of it, make sure that they're kind of reaching back. Big thing I want to hit here is this stat right here. Actually, these bottom two. 50% of leads end up going with the first person to respond to them. You might have gotten in touch with somebody, but if they've also been talking to somebody else and that somebody else was before you, it's a good chance, right, that they're going to stay with that person. Not saying that we can't get them over, we can't sway them, we can't change their mind, but 50% of the time, and I know how some people would think, the optimistics out there in the world, they're like, yeah, well, there's 50% of the time that they'll end up coming with me anyway. It's a crapshoot, right? It's like flipping a coin, whether they're going to come to you or not, by you not being the first one. I would rather just be the first one and increase that chance that I'm that one, right? This one right here, this is why we love text messaging so quickly. That's why I say that text message in the 30-second window. 98% of text messages get opened. 98%. Very few times do people just delete a text message. They at least open it. I don't know how much you guys know about email marketing. A good email open rate is about 20% to 25%. If I can get 20 to 25% open rates on marketing style emails or blast emails going out, that's a really good campaign. Typically, it's going to be somewhere in that 10, 15, 18% range. Whereas text messages, 98% of the time, I'll at least get it opened. But then this was always the stat that I've come to love. 95% of the time, not only is it opened, but it also gets responded to within 3 minutes. This is why I say if you hit them with a text message within the first 30 seconds of them doing something, and you're planning on giving them a call within the first 5 minutes, you got about a 3-minute window from the time that text goes out that they might answer you back. And about 95% of the time, you're going to get an answer. That answer might be, hey, now's not a good time. That answer might be, perfect, sounds good, look forward to the phone call. But am I beating people to the punch? Phone call is the best way, but at least I've got a conversation going. Does that make sense? Most of you on this call are Lead Vault users, but this is why we built some of the features into Lead Vault that we did, because it gives us that ability, right? To within, heck, you can have it instantaneous. Now that'd be a little freaky, but it could be the second that button on that submit button on a form gets hit, text message fire. Now, it wouldn't happen so fast that they barely got their mouse unclicked on there, right? But it could be so fast that it just looks automated, which is why I like to put about a 30-second break, right? A wait time of about 30 seconds from the time a form submission goes or something like that, where it's a trigger back. But getting that text message in front of somebody the second they do something on your website, and when you drive enough traffic to the website, things like this happen, right? And some of you guys, I know you've had these. You had leads come in and you got all excited. I got a lead. I got somebody to do something on my website. And then 5 days have gone by and you're like, yeah, I still got to follow up with them. Well, where are they at in 5 days?
Somebody else's website.
Yeah. They're probably already in contract, right? In the real estate, they're already in contract, most likely, with somebody else in 5 days. So I go back to what I started off by saying. the secret silent killer for service-based companies. It's not about more leads. It's not about the quality of leads. It's about speed to connection, speed to conversation. The person that can get in front of that person the fastest is a better chance of doing business with that person. 50% of the time, they're gonna choose you.
On I mean, I think what's obvious is the next step is how do we, if we haven't done it already, how do we automate some of this stuff using Lead Vault? And I know we're running out of time here, but I, personally, and I think I'm speaking for a lot of people, we'd like to see that process in another call.
Yeah, I mean, the process is simple. For those of you that are already using Lead Vault, you need to go through and look at every single form that you have on your website, which should be a Lead Vault form by now.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first action well, number one is you need to make sure you have an automation built for that particular form, that form triggers an automation. So that when that form gets submitted, I don't care what the form is, the contact us form should be the exact same way as what I'm about to say, right? The very first step should be a wait for about 10, 15, 20 seconds. And then immediately a text message. The text message should portray, again, write it in your words, write it how you want to communicate, but that text message should portray something on the topic of thank you for whatever the action was, right? Thank you for whatever it is that they're taking this action on. And emphasizing that within about 5 minutes, somebody's going to be reaching out to you. If it's a resource that they're asking for, right? Sal, to your question earlier, if it's this lead magnet, then the next thing that's happening immediately is the email, right? And we should in that text message be saying, hey, I went ahead and sent that over to your email for you to have and access and download and all those things, right? Lead magnet wise, my text message is probably going to say something around, hey, thanks for downloading this. One of our whatever, make up a good name for whoever this person is. Going to reach out to you to make sure that you understand the resource, give you some tips on how to get the most out of it. These type of things. We're not going to say we're going to reach out to you to see if you're a good fit. We know that that's what we're trying to do, qualify this lead, see if it's worth moving to the next step, right? We just want to tell them, like, hey, we're going to be giving you a ring. We're going to call you. That's the most vital thing right there. Step one would be go through every single one of your forms and make sure that those first couple things are happening. Right after that, I'd immediately have some form of an internal notification going. Either you or Chris need to be getting notified. Whoever's responsible for that phone call needs to be getting notified that Jake just filled out X form. Here's what, here's his contact information, hot opportunity, follow up immediately. And that's about as much that automation can do for us, right? Now it comes down to you or Chris actually saying, oh crap, I got the clock's ticking, right? Got to make this phone call right now. Not, oh, that's cool. We got an opportunity. Well, I'm going to the barber, then I got to go to lunch. I got a break in my schedule at 4 o'clock today. I'll call them at 4.
How does this work with what the article was talking about, which I agree with, is where best times are? Do you kind of blend that both in at the same time?
All they're saying here was this was the best time to get in touch with them.
Okay.
But that doesn't negate that the first 5 minutes
right
is the hot moment.
Is that cold outreach then, like versus leads coming into your website?
Remember, this is data across all the way out to about 6 to 7 attempts.
Yeah.
So they're just saying that the best time, like where they saw the best results was between 4 and 5.
Gotcha.
But it doesn't negate the fact that in that 5-minute window, it didn't matter what time it was, inside a 5-minute window, they had a substantially better chance of getting them on the phone.
So with the 5-minute rule weighs a lot heavier than whether it's 8 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon. That's what it's basically saying.
Correct. Now, we also, go back to this chart over here. They were only getting about 38% of the people to actually answer on that first attempt, because it's inside this 5 minutes, right? Outside of that 5 minutes, this goes down. There's no way that this is at 38% outside of 5 minutes. But they noticed that as they reached out more and more and more, they got a better chance. They were connecting with more people, right? So as you're going into your second, third, fourth, fifth follow-up, now this is where this comes into play. Okay, I tried to get them in the first 5 minutes. I actually didn't get in touch with them, or they messaged me back and said it wasn't a good time, or they did answer and it just wasn't a good time to talk. Okay, the best time now to continually try and continue to prospect is around this 4 to 5 window. The second best time is around 8 in the morning for about an hour.
How does this fit in with the nurturing process that we've been kind of trained on, or at least hear from you from TRC a lot, which makes a lot of sense. How does this fit, not fit? Because now we're jumping on it, which is fine. I mean, I like doing that. And then how does the nurturing process fit in?
Nurtures for those people right here that didn't answer.
Okay, gotcha.
Nurtures what continually is keeping something in front of them. Nurtures for the one that I tried 6 times, 7 times, 9 times and still didn't get with them. And I've got them in this just forever long, long ass nurture sequence. That's what the nurture's for.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense.
Right?
Yep.
Where I take this data into consideration is if I'm going to send nurture text and nurture emails, right? I've got Sal, you disappeared on me, you ghosted me. I've got you in a 52-week email series, right? That I'm just going to, every week, I'm going to send you some valuable information, no sales pitch, just value, right? I'm probably going to send it at around 8 in the morning, or I'm going to send it to you probably around the 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon range. Something like that, right? If I've got you in a monthly text message, just to periodically, 7, 8, 9, 10 times over the course of the year, just reach out to see how things are going. Like I get from these random hard money lenders that hit me up all the time, seeing if I got something that they can lend money on. Right? I see Jake shaking his head. You're probably getting the same type of messages, right? I know it's an automated thing. They haven't talked to me in a week and a half. They send me a message. They haven't talked to me in a month. They send me a message. Well, if I was doing that, I'm going to probably send it during these 2 hours right here, because I got a better chance that it's going to get paid attention to, right?
Yep.
That's where I take this data for on the nurture side of things, right? But when it's in the moment lead opportunity, this, you can't, they reached out to me, they filled out my form at 1 o'clock. So I'm going to wait till 4 to call them because you have 5 minutes.
No, yeah, right.
Right? You have 5 minutes. Now, if you don't get in touch with them, when could the second attempt be? At 4 o'clock that day.
Right. Makes sense.
Something like that. That help clear that up?
Absolutely. Thank you.
So what about when you get that guy that fills out your form at 2 o'clock in the morning?
That's where automation has to kind of help us out, right? So going back to kind of what Sal asked, right? Obviously at 2 o'clock in the morning, am I going to be able to respond in 5 minutes? No, but being able to get a text message and an email in front of them instantly with an internal notification that just happened, because guess what I'm going to be doing by 8 o'clock in the morning then?
You call them. That's right. Yep.
Because if I wake up and I see that, Marie just downloaded this SEO checklist and my text message hits her and you answer back, you best believe that, by 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm reaching out to you. Else anything?
So for the automations on that same note, can you set up like an if then, like with an exception and a condition? So if it's after business hours?
You couldn't do it. I don't know if we could build it. We'd have to play with it on the condition logic. from an hourly standpoint.
Okay.
But what we could do is build it on a condition from a timing standpoint. Hey, send this message, and if nothing happens in 5 minutes, then do this.
Gotcha. Yep.
Right? Something like that. I'd be curious to look if we can do it based on time of day. Hey, if it's between these hours, send this, and if it's between these hours, send this.
Yep.
With the weight in the additional options on the weight, you can have those certain time periods set.
Yeah,
So
the weight, we can tell it to only do something during these hours, but kind of what Jake's asking is, hey, in case they did fill this out at 2 a.m, could we say, oh, it happened at 2 a.m, do this. It happened at 2 p.m, do this.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is there something that you could set up like, delay on a delivery of like an email type of thing?
Well, you can set up a delay. That's easy. That's the wait step. And that you can do based on days of the week, time of the day, the whole night. Hey, only send this between this hour and this hour on these days. We can get to that level there. But Jake, to the other side of it is we can go condition logic where if it's a positive response, right? We send a text, and if they send something positive, what's considered a positive text back, which would be anything that's other than stop, F you, these type of things, right?
Yeah.
Then do this. But if they send a negative response, then do this. We can do that.
Okay.
To where in case they filled it out and then you got hit with this and they, it's not a true qualified lead or somebody that, and they answer you back with, screw off or no, don't call me, something like that, that it could not do something then.
Okay.
Mark them as do not disturb, send a thing to you that's like, hey, non-qualified lead.
Yep.
That kind of stuff.
So Sean, I have another question. Just right now, the way our website's built, the same seller form is used across like every location page and the home page. Now, if we had specific lead magnets or certain avatars that we were going after, and we would create a separate, I'm assuming like a separate seller form for that page where we'd want the workflow to be a little bit different and maybe a different lead magnet that they're getting in the email response and
Correct.
like different messaging.
Yep.
So it's not the same generic message that's going out to every single seller form. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the easy way of setting it up out of the gate was same form across everything, right? But as you start to kind of move your process along, right? Move your differentiating factors along there, then yes, this town or this city page, maybe you've got this. It's no different than services, right?
Right.
You've got a foreclosure page, how you help people in foreclosure versus how you help people in divorce. And you've got resources for both. You're going to have 2 different forms. Same thing.
Cool.
And my suggestion would be to have, right? Most of you guys have it set up. You've got at least the seller forms on there. Cool. Now start working more advanced and get in there and start building this city form, this city form, this city form. Why? Because now we're going back to the data and metrics. And even though I said it's not a data and metric problem, it doesn't negate the importance of it. To be able to see, hey, we get really good traffic and we get really good form fields in XYZ city, but over in BCF city, we're not getting anything. Right now, you can only look at it from, overarching seller form or X form, whatever it is, right?